I'm Elizabeth DeLugri, Vice Chair of Undergraduate Studies. On behalf of the faculty, the staff, and the Friends of the UCLA Department of English, I welcome you to our undergraduate commencement for the class of 2013. Our ceremony will begin with the procession of our graduating students. You entrusted them to us a few years ago, and we return them to you with a BA added to their accomplishments, reflecting their years of hard work and dedication, which entailed deep reading, lots of essay writing, and probably quite a few all-night study sessions. We know that you are deeply proud of our graduating students, our newly minted degree holders from one of the most highly ranked literature programs in the country. We have loved working with this generation of students who have come to understand and to appreciate the great historical depth and geographical breadth of the field of literary studies, and to share that enthusiasm about how literature and the creative imagination can help us understand the complexity of what it means to be human in the 21st century. As faculty, we share your pride, your excitement and anticipation for the class of 2013. For us, this day brings mixed emotions: happiness and pride at the achievements and the bright future of our graduates, and a heartfelt sadness at their departure from our classrooms and from our program. The English department faculty thank you for the great privilege of instructing and mentoring this stellar generation of scholars. And now I am so happy to present to you the UCLA English Department's graduating class of 2013.
Good afternoon. My name is Ali Bedad, and it is my great honor to serve as chair of the Department of English at UCLA. It is therefore my privilege today, on behalf of the department's faculty and staff, to welcome you all, graduates and guests, to this once-in-a-lifetime rite of passage. You now belong to a very special class of educated citizens in America who have had the thoughtfulness, insight, and courage to major in English literature. And I particularly appreciate and admire your decision in light of my own history of becoming an English professor. As a middle-class boy growing up in the Middle East in the 1960s, I was given 3 career options by my parents and culture: to become an engineer, option 1, to become a doctor, option 2, and to be a failure, option 3. So you can imagine my parents' reaction when I informed them of my decision to study literature. I'll never forget the expression of sheer horror on my dad's face when I divulged to him my career choice. Incredulous and horrified, he tried to talk sense into me by warning me that if I majored in literature, I would ultimately be feeling resentful and inferior to my brothers, all 5 of whom incidentally ended up becoming engineers, doctors, and 1 a lawyer. Think about it, son, he said. They will all have successful careers, live in great homes, and marry beautiful women from good families, while you will be struggling all alone to make a meager living with your unread books and unpublished poems. Now, I'm happy to report that over 4 decades later, professionally successful though all my 5 brothers are, they all envy my academic career and my privilege in being able to pursue the life of the mind. They all wish they too could spend their days reading great books of literature, teach brilliant students such as yourself, and have enlightened colleagues such as those sitting behind me. Now, I recognize that many of you will go on to pursue careers other than academic ones, but you will have demonstrated the courage, open-mindedness, and intelligence to recognize that in a society such as ours, in which we are compelled to pursue career paths that promise the most financial success, it is fundamental that we also acquire the knowledge and skills important for life as an informed citizen or as a reflective and culturally literate human being, to use the words of Harvard English professor Louis Menand. Whatever careers you will pursue from this point on, as English graduates, you are fortunate to have been exposed to works and forms of knowledge that have enlightened and empowered you. You should also thank your parents and your lucky stars to have been encouraged to take advantage of an education in the humanities. Now, for the rest of your lives, you are the proud alumni of the Department of English at UCLA. You should take pride in being critically informed and intellectually sophisticated citizens equipped with analytical reasoning, critical thinking, and writing and communicational skills that will make you stand out above all others in any professional setting. This is your day, a time for your family and friends to come together to acknowledge your many achievements and celebrate your great accomplishments. I'm extremely proud to stand before you, who are the newest graduate of our program, and to stand before this illustrious group of scholars and teachers behind me. They are unquestionably one of the finest faculty in the nation, teaching the wide variety of literatures written in English. And we can all be proud that this excellent faculty serves at the greatest public university in the world, an institution owned by the people of California and open for the greater good of people across the world. For access to education ought to be treated as one of the most basic of human rights, not a privilege of a few. I hope that as all of you go out into the world, you will not forget how important it was for you and will be for generations to come to have access to a public university offering the finest educational opportunities available in the world to anyone who might wish to embark on his life-changing course. As you may know, our undergraduate program in English and American literature and culture have the largest number of student majors in the humanities at UCLA and the largest number of English majors of any university in the country. And I think we all know why we have the most majors. It is because of the magnificent scholars and stellar teachers who sit behind me today. It is because they learn and care about literature and critical thinking that they all are an outstanding group of teachers who feel passionately about liberal arts education. And you have learned well. You are a highly diverse and sophisticated group of students, now prepared for a great variety of careers and adventures. Most of you began your studies at UCLA straight out of high school or as transfer students from community colleges. Most are graduating today in your early 20s with the bulk of your life and career before you. But some of you have returned to complete your degrees even after having established other careers. You have faced great challenges in order to get to where you are today. Many of you are planning to take your skills and knowledge out into the world to such widespread locales as Brazil, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Thailand, and France. Some of you have accepted positions with nonprofit service organizations such as Teach for America, City Year, AmeriCorps Visa Program, UCLA Brewing Woods, and the Peace Corps. There are some of you who are planning for careers in the entertainment and music industries, public relations, teaching, retail management, journalism, event planning, accounting, marketing, physical therapy, speech pathology, counseling, investment banking, computer software, and fashion merchandising and design. One of you will even be attending pastry school. You will be entering graduate programs in clinical psychology, nursing, family therapy, and library and information science at schools as near as Loyola Marymount University and as far away as the University of Toronto. Many of you have been accepted into prestigious law schools, such as New York University, Chapman University, Northwestern, Pepperdine, Emory, Southwestern, and University of Washington, USC, and also here at UCLA. Some of you will be pursuing PhDs in English. No matter what your pursuits, we know that what you have learned as an English major has brought together your passion and your intellect, a combination that has prepared you to go into the world and make a difference. Be an opener of doors, as Ralph Waldo Emerson admonished us. And to be the opener of a door, he added, you do not go where the path may lead you, but you go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. One group that has achieved the marriage of passion and intellect and has therefore opened some doors for us is in the English department is our wonderful support group, the Friends of English. The Friends are individuals who provide invaluable support for the department and we hope benefit from its scholarly mission. But before we proceed further, I hope to take a moment here and ask that you take a look around you, around this arena, witness the support and love of these around you who have done their part to get you to this celebration today. These are the people who have provided you with the means of developing your greatest abilities to make the most of yourself. Please join me in recognizing the many, many people, sisters and fathers, brothers and mothers, aunts and uncles and cousins, spouses and partners, sons and daughters, all who have contributed and sacrificed so much so you can celebrate your success today. So, in part, what you take away from your experience with books is the recollection of all the grandeur and sadness and brevity of time. At the same time, I hope you have experienced what I believe we all on this stage have experienced, the beauty and inspiration that words can create. A simple glimpse into something new, greater, inspiring, sublime. As Lord Byron eloquently put it, but words are things, and a small drop of ink falling like dew upon a thought produces that which makes thousands, perhaps millions, think. At the same time, you have been through a trial marked by papers and tests and deadlines and grade. We celebrate today the accomplishment of these trials as majors in the Department of English at UCLA. You have finished, or for some of you, nearly finished, a difficult course of study that has involved long hours of reading, writing, memorizing, and analyzing. So as eternal students of what we teach, I and my colleagues thank you and congratulate you for your years of hard work and your success along the way. I and all of us from this platform salute you. Congratulations, graduating class of 2013. You are the brightest, the most thoughtful, the most passionate, and the most eloquent graduate students on campus. And do not let anyone tell you otherwise. One of the most rewarding aspects of being chair is the pleasure of working with a remarkable and inspirational group of faculty who possess the supreme art of great teaching. And in recognition of their great contribution to our department and to your education, it is our custom to feature a faculty speaker at the commencement. It is my true honor to introduce our faculty speaker for this year's commencement, a dear friend and colleague, Professor Karen Rowe. Many of you have been fortunate to have taken her courses on American literature, Milton, and women's writing, and have benefited from her immense erudition, impassioned knowledge of women writers, and inspiring pedagogy. The word that best describes Professor Rowe's teaching is devotion. Through her extraordinary investment of time, energy, and imagination, she provides the fortunate undergraduate students who seek her out the kind of educational experience more commonly offered at a small liberal arts college. Professor Rowe, who has taught in our department for many years, is the recipient of many grants and honors, including a National Endowment for the Humanities and a research fellowship from the Five College Women's Studies Research Center. She is the author of numerous work on a broad range of topics, from lyric poetry in colonial New England to the rise of women's education in the United States. She's currently completing a monumental anthology entitled Women Write, American Women's Print Culture, 1784 to 1894, which showcases Professor Rowe's well-established gift as a meticulous and conscientious curator of the voices of the unsung and overlooked. Albert Einstein remarked that it is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. Professor Rowe is that inspiring and devoted teacher who has awakened in you the joy in creative expression and knowledge. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium.
Thank you, Ali. I welcome all of you, especially the 2013 UCLA graduates in English. Yay! This past week, you likely cranked out that final paper, crammed all night for exams, fueled by Red Bull or Java Jolts. You filled your last blue book with dazzling insights, then packed dirty laundry and battered furniture, ran the midnight undie run, and partied hardy. Or perhaps you slept into Sylvia Plath's still blue hours of the dawn until Horatio's morn in Russell mantle clad flamed out of the June gloom. Now, I've been invited to usher you gracefully, or maybe to boot your butt, into an Aldous Huxley brave new world of your own devising, the unknown of what you will do beyond UCLA. It's an occasion to look backward and forward, to take stock of what tools you possess to map your journey, and with what dreams you will write your story. Over 4, 5, or 6 years, you've witnessed a sea change in the English and American literature and culture majors, asked to choose between old and new. The old offered a Western European model of ancient Greek and Roman classics, transformed during the Middle Ages and Renaissance into an empire-centered and Enlightenment-era dominance of English. The Trial by Fire 10 series, Chaucer, Shakespeare, and Milton schooled you oldsters in literary greats and a trajectory through Romantics to moderns, England to America, Homer's epic Odyssey to Joyce's postmodern novel Ulysses. The new major insists that historical periods still matter, even if we no longer put weight on the sacred triumvirate of the Canterbury Tales, Hamlet or King Lear, or Paradise Lost. Instead, we reshift cultural paradigms and critical methods to analyze gender, sexuality, and race, to read texts through a multifocal lens of the transnational and post-colonial, to study critical theories and genres. Together with many of my colleagues, I imagine myself a bridge builder, trained to teach transatlantic writers from Shakespeare and Milton to the earliest Americans, but also to reconstitute a female pantheon and multicultural canon. In women's literatures, my examples for today, we hear distinctive voices, perhaps your own story, in a different register. Marie Evans proudly proclaims, "I am a Black woman," while June Jordan protests Pan-African rapes in a poem about my rights. In Notes from the Divided Countries, Suji Kwak Kim remembers her Korean heritage as her mother makes kimchi, while boat refugee Leti Diemtui in Shrapnel Shards on Blue Water proclaims that Vietnam is not a war, but her devastated homeland. Joy Harjo memorializes Creek Indian ancestors whose voices are buried in Mississippi mud, while Gloria Anzaldúa theorizes in Borderlands La Frontera what it means to grow up a Tex-Mex Chicana lesbian. These poets remind us that history isn't ancient, but as contemporary as today's news, or as Puerto Rican Aurora Levins Morales articulates, a post-colonial legacy. For she is a child of the Americas, a light-skinned mestiza of the Caribbean, a child of many diaspora, born into this continent at a crossroads. History made me. By choosing to major in English, you entered these textual worlds of competing identities and ideologies, lived through imagination, or as Emily Dickinson heralds, this consent of language, this loved philology. I facetiously titled this chat, Consuming Books, because you've been taught to devour books, to salivate, masticate, swallow, digest, absorb, and yes, sometimes to regurgitate books, believing wrongly you must give back what your professor wants to hear. You made the book, or nookpad, is that what they call them? A plumb line like Mark Twain's on the Mississippi to measure the power of words, to open your eyes and ears as gateways into brilliantly imagined worlds. Although we assign raw texts, you carved out meanings, and creative writers among you birthed new poems, stories, and novels. You let your minds be plastic, elastic, orgiastic, ectoplasmic, bombastic, encomiastic, and iconoclastic. And yes, played with language. You are initiates into the culture of the word and the literary imagination, a way of thinking you will carry into every facet of your lives. I wish to make 3 claims about the importance of this liberal humanities education for democratic and global citizenship, invigorating diversity, and cultural literacy. First, as modern-day culture makers and citizens, you navigate fault lines of a vastly more complex American and global order. Our world is rife with divided loyalties, displacements, hybrid and multiple identities. It's been a century since World War I, and W.B. Yeats, the center cannot hold. Straight down to 9/11, a war on terror, and violence that strikes a Boston Marathon, or as close as Santa Monica College, yet breeds courageously resilient resistance. To open one's mind through literatures written in English is to embrace a broader world view, to learn to live consciously through history, panoramic and personal. Literature steeps you in tragedies and triumphs, and your favorite poems, dramas, novels often mirror back personal sagas when your ancestors and peers tell their stories, your legacies of shared migrations, past and present. Second, gender and ethnic diversity. Slides so glibly off the lips of most Californians that we fail to connect it to what John Stuart Mill articulates in On Liberty, that the value of education is in bringing human beings in contact with persons dissimilar to themselves and with modes of thought and action unlike those with which they are familiar. Such a collision of views, Harvard President Eliot wrote, cultivates forbearance and mutual respect, teaches candor, moral courage, and independence of thought. Former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan at UCLA this June cited sexual equality, tolerant racial diversity, and universal literacy as cornerstones of a free world global harmony. Through your lived experience in LA's megatropolis and your UCLA study of eclectic literatures, you have been steeped in such invigorating collisions by engaging writers who profoundly disagree. Your lives will be rife and ripe with such collisions and radical changes. Embrace the differences and new possibilities with confidence and commitment. Third, when we speak of cultural literacy, we call you to be semioticians, to read signs. Use your skills to deconstruct the rhetorical seductions of politicians, bigots, and hypocrites, product marketers, and media, a skill even more essential when WikiLeaks, blogs, tweets, Twitters, hashtags, or Babelmeisters debase language and logic into a charade of rational communication. Literature is not synonymous with text or text messaging, as in reductively clever but vacuous, disconnected blurts housed in a plastic gadget. Train to seek meta-narrative and to read below the surface into the dig deep subconscious, you are a rare subspecies, intelligent analysts of complex networks of miscommunication. You speak multiple languages, literally, and we hope possess adaptive skills to maneuver skeptically in the changing world around you. Like Adam and Eve, ousted from paradise, in which you consumed literature like a tasty apple, you descend onto the subjected plane with wandering steps and slow, banished, but with a knowledge of good and evil, some foresight into the human condition, and a moral conscience, with a few Archangel Raphaels or sword-wielding Michaels in ceremonial robes as guides. Today, we celebrate your future, all those pathways you are poised to create. Artistic and self-creation, Adrienne Rich tells us, requires a freedom of the mind to enter the currents of your thought like a glider pilot, to conceive of alternatives, perhaps to the very life you are living at that moment, for writing is renaming. In your lives, you will face difficult choices, but like cartographers, dare to carve out alternate routes to take Frost's road less traveled by. During a long ago trip, with my 7-year-old nephew. I know, you think that's weird. He asked me what my worst nightmares were. Did I dream in black and white or color? Well, I was startled to have a budding little Freud sitting next to me. What I thought, is he really asking, where do images come from? Why are dreams scary and wonderful, terrifying and exhilarating? As English majors, you've consumed ideas and images through black and white printed words. But those words open portals into luminescent 3D Technicolor lives. Translate your dreams into achieved realities, not just a job, but a passion to test the limits of your talents. Take up the challenge to tell your own story, become all that you can be, capture a blessed infinity of possibility. As a graduate of the UCLA department, use your knowledge and literary gifts with generous humanism and humility. Thank you. It has been our custom to ask alumni to speak at commencement about their experiences after UCLA, a little bit more immediate for all of you. And believe me, there is life after UCLA. Emily Dickinson's aphorism is apt: finite to fail, but infinite to venture. Christopher Zaida, our 2013 Distinguished Alumni Speaker, launched his extraordinarily successful ventures with a BA in English awarded in spring 1984. One of those delay it to the end majors who took my Milton course that last quarter. A Bruin for life, Chris earned his MBA from UCLA's Anderson School of Management in 1989, having earlier started his career at Walt Disney, where he rose to Chief Investment Officer. Then, as Amazon's Vice President and International CFO, he secured billion-dollar financing for global expansion and helped engineer a corporate turnaround for which all students who buy textbooks are indebted. He managed eBay's first comprehensive budgeting process and was instrumental on their PayPal acquisition team. Then, as CFO of Luminant, designed the real estate trust's first public offering on the New York Stock Exchange. Since 2007, as founder and CEO of Mosaic, he customizes wealth management portfolios for individuals, family funds, and foundations. Clients praise his impeccably sound judgments, loyalty, and ethical integrity. Chris told me he's an investment psychologist. I heard English major, who analyzes client desires, then scripts scenarios as a financial guru. A terrific and talented man, one admirer writes, but Chris modestly underplays his other talents: training in CrossFit and Olympic lifting, great prep for a Camp Pendleton 10K mud run, and his love of piano and creative writing. My colleague in history, Teo Ruiz, a National Humanities Medalist, captures the hope of every professor. We remember our writers, our teachers. As long as you remember me, as I always tell my students, I am alive. With immense gratitude, we welcome back Christopher Zaida, a humanist at heart who keeps us alive as teachers by remembering and by sharing today his life story after UCLA. Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rowe, my favorite professor. Thank you also for my A in your Milton course, and for making me memorize the first and the last 5 lines of Paradise Lost for extra credit, which, as you know, I can still recite today. It was fun to say them with you at the UCLA Humanities dinner on Thursday night. Well, congratulations, UCLA English graduates of 2013. I am honored to address all 350 of you graduates, your parents, and your families, and to share with you some uplifting advice that I wish someone had told me back when I graduated. Think of this as an extra 4 units that you get to absorb in just 10 minutes. I'm also very happy to have my wonderful partner for the last 9 years, Michael, supporting me from the audience up there today. Nearly 30 years after graduating, attending college at UCLA remains one of my best life decisions. So many fun memories for me here, like being in the Delta Sig fraternity, serving on Spring Sing Committee, handcuffing myself to Murphy Hall during a protest, then playing the piano at Chancellor Young's Christmas party afterwards, running the 1,245 steps at Drake Stadium and the 4-mile perimeter of the campus, although back in my day, we did not do this in our underwear like you did on Wednesday night. And on top of all this fun, I received a world-class education here. Now, I was hooked on English literature the moment that Professor Michael Allen, in my English 10A course, read out loud that shockingly pornographic poem, A Ramble in St. James Park, written in 1672 by John Wilmot II, Earl of Rochester. For the non-English majors in the audience, this Lord Wilmot was the Charlie Sheen of his era, and his poem describes in graphic detail a wild and salacious sexual Disneyland happening in this park right outside the gates of Buckingham Palace in London. It sounded to me like Mardi Gras in Rio, or Burning Man, or Coachella, or the Folsom Street Fair times 10, not that I've been to any of them. Parents, aren't you happy your tuition went for things like this poem? Anyway, I remember thinking to myself, wow, if I ever make it to England someday, I am definitely checking out this St. James Park. More on that in a few minutes. Well, that poem led to my English degree, my life's greatest intellectual endeavor, the opportunity to read by age 22, the world's greatest literature, and to learn how to think. More people should learn how to think. You're all going to find that out very soon now when you start working. I didn't mind carrying 20 pounds of books all over campus, though today you probably read everything on iPads and Nooks and Sony readers. My English degree has been so good to me and good for me. But life hasn't always been so easy. I feel very close to all of you now, so I can share this quite personal and serious story. One of the scariest moments of my life occurred at the end of my freshman year when I summoned the courage to drive home to Porter Ranch for my coming out speech to my conservative parents. I sat them down, I took a deep breath, and I said those ominous words, "Mom, Dad, I hope you'll still love me, but I'm going to major in English." Eventually, my mother spoke. Hopeful that one of her 3 children would become a doctor, Mom asked me, her youngest and her last chance for one, "Chris, how will you get into medical school with an English degree?" So far, this was going well. Then my father went right for the jugular vein, declaring, "Chris, your mother and I are paying $714 a year for you to go to UCLA." Dad always started with numbers. He continued, "How will you find a job with an English degree? You know, you can't move back home after graduation." Oh, brother. And there you have it, folks. English degree bullying. How many of you have endured this? Let it all out. Why do people have to pick on North Campus English majors? Well, this helps me feel better. When your iPhone drops that important call for the 5th time, when you click on that software update that ruins your laptop for weeks, when your GPS navigation system leads you into the side of a mountain instead of to the Getty Museum, when you try to play your music that you stored up in the cloud and that cloud has evaporated, When you turn on your television to watch the Olympics and you see a message looking for satellite signal for 2 hours, just remember this. Every one of these incredibly frustrating experiences, my friends, is brought to you by the work of South Campus graduates. South Campus Technology and Science graduates, that's their work product. So my parents were wrong about the value of a BA in English. The truth is you can do anything you want in life with your English degree. I am living proof of this. Look at me. I went into finance. If you forget every other thing I say today, and I can't remember a thing my 1984 commencement speaker said, remember this, you can do anything you want in the world with your English degree. There's your 4 units. But there's more. Your English degree actually will be your secret weapon in life. If our famous basketball coach, John Wooden, had created an academic version of his pyramid of success, the English degree would be at the top. There are 17 good reasons for this. Get ready for the top 5. Scared you, didn't I? First reason, English combines every other academic subject. No other degree does this. You want some history? Well, we've got Shakespeare's Richard III, that cheerful, uplifting play. And how about business? Look no further than George Bernard Shaw's Mrs. Warren's Profession, which in hindsight actually is about business. Child psychology, anyone? Curl up with Oedipus, either the Aeschylus or the Sophocles version. You see, we are well-rounded because English combines every subject into entertaining literature, which we got to read on chaise lounges at the Sunset Canyon Rec Center, in between volleyball and, let's call it, swimming laps in that lovely 82-degree Olympic swimming pool. Parents, your tuition paid for this swimming pool too. Second reason, English prepares you better for life than other degrees because literature provides a real-life perspective from a safe reading distance. Now as you leave college, welcome to the Octagon, where the dramas, heroes, heroines, and villains of literature will leap off the pages of your Norton anthologies and into your lives whether you're ready or not. For example, I once worked with a management team full of Iagos right out of Othello. Imagine the fun. And my first mother-in-law reminded me of Grendel the monster's mother in Beowulf. At one company, during an endless screaming match between the French management team and the English management team, I relived the Norman conquest of 1066. English major humor, where else on earth can you do this? I even once worked with Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, which I know does not count as English literature. This is for the non-English majors here, so they're not left out. Everyone said that they were totally unmanageable employees, but I could get them to do anything I wanted just by asking them to do the opposite. You see how literature prepares you for life. Reason number 3, English majors are creative. I can only imagine the creative ways in which you have smuggled alcohol into Pauley Pavilion today. I know it's out there. Countless times in my career, the creativity and my what would an English major do logic has allowed me to analyze situations differently than other people and to solve problems that many have deemed impossible to solve. Creativity is a wonderful gift, and you have it. Fourth reason. Woo! Fourth reason, English majors possess the elements of style, that all-important power of words. Your graduate school essays, if you go to graduate school, will blow people away. Your letter to the editor will be the one that gets published. Your reviews on Yelp will be admired and feared by many. Your 140-character thoughts will be retweeted more than other people's. You will always win at Scrabble. And when you start working, you will be shocked to find that most people today can't even write a proper sentence or spell. Your communication skills will help you get ahead. In my own experience, a few weeks after I joined the Walt Disney Company, our chief financial officer needed to meet with Wall Street analysts about Disney's earnings. I was assigned to write his speech, and it was such a hit that I became known throughout Disney as the finance guy who could write and explain what the numbers actually mean. And for the rest of my 10 years at Disney, in addition to investing the company's money, I drafted nearly every financial speech and presentation that Disney made. This helped my career immensely. And finally, the most important fifth reason of why English majors are at the top of this fictitious John Wooden academic pyramid that I invented. We are more insightful, more cultured, more understanding, and we are smarter. We have more common sense, and we make the world a more civilized place. Plus, we're humble. And we are in the company of great English major Americans, such as Michael Eisner, the longtime CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Steve Wynn, the casino mogul, Diane Sawyer and Barbara Walters, two giants in television news, Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American U.S. Supreme Court Justice, Stephen King, the author, Sally Ride, the first female space astronaut, Steven Spielberg, the film director, and even Dr. Harold Varmus, who won the 1989 Nobel Prize in Medicine, so my mom would be happy to know that at least one English major became a doctor. All right, it's time to find a career, an adventure akin to Adam and Eve's wandering steps out of the Garden of Eden at the end of Paradise Lost, because today the world is all before you. There's my Milton reference, Dr. Rowe. That's all from the last 5 lines you made me memorize. It's healthy for you to try different things before you settle down. My first job after college lasted only 5 days. I worked for a producer in Hollywood. On my 5th day at work, he hit on me. Now, I don't blame him. When I was 22 years old, I was really hot. But I said no. He took it badly. I had to quit. 5 days, first job. Hopefully, you will all start off better than this. So from my own songs of experience of life, twisted as they may be, here are my cliff notes of suggested and non-preachy career advice that worked for me. Try to pursue what you love doing, also known as your passion, or at least what you're good at. This helps a lot if you want success. Seek out and work with the smartest people that you can find in your field. I have worked with a lot of incredibly smart people, and a lot of incredibly less smart people. Working with smart people is better. Along the way, learn the paradox of money. Money does not necessarily make you happy. The most unhappy people I've encountered were multimillionaires working at internet companies who were miserable and battled with ulcers, depression, cancers, bouts of pneumonia and bronchitis that never seemed to go away, just like Lady Macbeth and her nightly hand washing. But they were all rich. Learn how to trust yourself and your own judgment. Nearly every time in my life when I have made a mistake, it's because I listened too much to someone else's opinion. Take risks in your career. It's okay to feel scared when you take risks because facing your fears helps you grow. A lot of people will say, no, don't take risks, particularly well-meaning people who supposedly only want the best for you. Don't listen to them, it is a trap. Try to be the best at whatever you pursue. My parents, both of whom were valedictorians of their high schools and their colleges, no pressure there, always said this to me and it drove me nuts, but it's good advice for success. How you do anything is how you do everything. When you try to be the best, you may not actually turn out to be the best, but you will be amazed at how far you actually get. To succeed, you will also need some luck, but do not confuse luck with chance. Chances when you win the lottery or gambling at cards in Las Vegas. You can create luck for yourself by working hard and paying attention to the opportunities that are all around you. Perhaps you will go to graduate school like me. I earned an MBA from the UCLA Anderson School, a great program, and contrary to what you might be thinking, parents especially, my MBA did not make my English degree relevant or useful. Rather, my English degree made my MBA more relevant and more useful and more powerful in my career. I can't emphasize this last point enough. Extra 2 units here. A few words about corporate America. Be wary. Today, corporate America is a living metaphor of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. For example, I worked at one company that sued me for quitting my job. We have a great word for things like this in English literature, Dickensian. So consider doing your own thing and allow corporate America to be your road not taken, and make Robert Frost proud. To succeed, you will also need to work really hard. I have usually worked far more than 60 hours per week, even nowadays when I'm supposed to be slowing down. You may also need to move a lot. I have moved 22 times. Final career advice. Shelley's poem, Ozymandias, says that humanity will crumble into oblivion, but that was before the internet, which has no delete button. So consider hiding your incriminating Facebook photos now before you become known. The NSA and the CIA agree with me. Now, 3 comments about life before I conclude. 1, the world is no utopia, and the book of your life will contain a few chapters that really suck. At times, you will feel trapped in the rhyme of the ancient mariner, stuck on a ship in the ocean, while life goes haywire all around you. You will lose cherished loved ones. You may witness friends or family members being swallowed up by drugs, alcohol, smoking, or other addictions. Spouses, partners, bosses, work colleagues, and even trusted friends may betray you. At some point, you will experience failure. I have experienced every single one of these things in my life. And look at me, I am still here, alive, giving your commencement speech. 2, I encourage you to live a life of integrity. Do not buy into the culture of corruption that seems to have gripped every corner of American society today. Do the right thing, even if no one is looking, especially if no one is looking. These choices matter over the long arc of your life. And 3, no happy occasion, including this one, would be complete for English majors without a discussion of death. Let carpe diem, seize the day, guide your life, which is an amazing journey, even with all the bad stuff included. Don't be a lady of Shalott, shut inside a tower viewing life through a mirror. For our non-English majors, the Lady of Shalott was the Romantic era's version of a cat lady. Carpe diem for me has meant competing in rodeos, scuba diving, river rafting, placing 212th in the world in this year's CrossFit Open competition, and traveling to exotic places like the jungles of Vietnam, a third world country where I experienced my best iPhone reception ever. Explain that, South Campus technology graduates. I hope you all get to visit Geoffrey Chaucer's grave at Westminster Abbey. I did that. I even finally made it to that inspirational St. James Park that I mentioned earlier, and I took my ramble. And St. James Park today is no wild sexual Disneyland. Don't get your hopes up. But there is a Starbucks. So trust me, this old crusty English major, your UCLA English degree is awesome. It has armed you with the superpowers of all those Greek and Roman gods that Edith Hamilton wrote about in mythology, making everything possible for you at this moment in your life. Everything is possible. What a wonderful place to be. Now, if you've been listening, you will have heard 25 references to my favorite literature, as well as alliteration, metaphor, simile, analogy, foreshadowing, hyperbole, sarcasm, hidden meaning, rhetorical question, and paradox. Take that, non-English majors. I wish each of you an incredible life, however you choose to define it for yourself. And remember, the only thing to remember from my speech today, especially since UCLA is going to post it on YouTube forever, you can do anything in life with your English degree. Now, go do it. Thank you.
Chris Zada, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for that an incredibly inspiring speech, Chris. It is an honor, it's a true honor to have you come back today to your alma mater as our alumni speaker, and you're always welcome here. Thank you. I'm not going to be I mean, this is a very hard act to follow, so I'm going to wrap things up here. Dear graduates, I expect you have, for the most part, enjoyed your years here at UCLA as a major in our department. I also expect that your experience have offered you the opportunity to hope and to dream about your future, even as you fear that you have no control over that future. And I would like to encourage you to remember H.G. Wells's words that it is possible to believe that all the past is but the beginning of a beginning, and that all that is and has been is but the twilight of the dawn. It is possible to believe that all the human mind has ever accomplished is but the dream before the awakening. Your many professors at UCLA and I envy the journey you are about to undertake. Every dream, every possibility lies before you. Not that the prospect of an uncertain future is easy nor comforting, but we truly believe that what you have learned here will serve you in some way as yet unsure. And as you move into your future, please remember us. You will always have a home here in the Department of English at UCLA. You will always be a Bruin, and you are always welcome as a friend of the English department.